Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. My name is Debra. I'm your host. Always pleased to be here. I'm going to start this podcast off by being really honest with you. It's a Sunday afternoon and I'm feeling a little bit lethargic. I've been out on a dog walk. The weather is atrocious. It's howling wind, rain, and some kind of storm, whatever storm it is. And Sunday is my podcast recording day. It's my routine. It's what I do on a Sunday. My husband goes off cycling, so I'm here on my own unless I make arrangements. And I kind of have committed to recording my podcast every Sunday. Now, I was unsure what to talk about today. I've been thinking of a few different topics that I wanted to talk about, and they're spinning around in my head. And I kind of said to myself, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm not sure how I feel. I'm not really in the mood. And I don't know whether I'm going to end up recording this podcast. And I am here a lot later than I had planned to record this podcast. And then I reminded myself of a post that I put up earlier in the week. And I headed up the post. It's me sitting on a rowing machine, on the seat of a rowing machine, saying, I've got a confession. And what I go on to say in that post is that most of the time, I don't actually feel like doing a workout. And you might look at me and think that I'm always highly motivated, when in fact, actually, it takes me a great deal of effort to get to the gym, do my workout, do it well, work hard. And I talked about that in my post, advising you, the listener, the reader, that no matter what mood you're in or how you're feeling, just stick to the plan and do it anyway. If you let your mood dictate your actions, then like some days probably don't even want to get out of bed. Some days we don't feel like doing very much. We have to do various things in our life. We have to go to work. We have to clean our teeth. It's what we do. We repeat these things and they've become our routine, whether we feel like it or whether we're in the mood or not. And exercise, looking after your health, recording this podcast is exactly the same, and it's no different. You have to keep repeating the same actions and sticking to the plan, no matter whether you feel like it or you're in the mood or not. And so here I am on the podcast with enthusiasm, with happiness and joy, because I love recording my podcast. But it took me to remind myself that I need to show up and keep my routine of recording podcasts on a Sunday, no matter how I was feeling or what mood I was in, and to set a realistic example to you, the listener, that sometimes things are going to be difficult. Sometimes you're not going to find things easy, but you've got to do them anyway. And when you do them, you will feel so much better for it. And I know I do. Now, talking of podcasts, I also reminded myself, episode 2 of my podcast series, I called the podcast You Don't Start Good. And I talked about me being new at podcasting and comparing it to you in your health and weight loss journey, and how you don't start good at improving your health and losing weight. You have to practice. You have to learn the skills. You have to understand what's required in order to get what it is that you want, and to keep making progress, and to do it in a way that's enjoyable, and that we're going to make mistakes along the way, but you've got to just keep going and not striving for perfection. And so I was kind of looking for what I really feel passionate about speaking about. And this perfectionist mindset and how we make mistakes and how we show up for ourselves. And so I decided that I'm going to talk about why your all or nothing mindset is getting in the way of you feeling good. Because I could have, if I switch that to me being an all or nothing mindset, I wasn't quite in the mood to record this podcast. I wasn't quite feeling it. I could have deviated from the plan and decided not to record the podcast. But I'm here. I've shown up. It may not be my best podcast, might be, but it might not be, but it doesn't matter. I'm here, I'm doing my best, even though it might not be perfect. And the perfectionist mindset that many of us are striving for, and many of my clients prior to coaching, was the mindset they had that I'm gradually moving them away from, because I do not believe in having a perfectionist mindset. And I'll go into that in a minute. I'm here and I'm going to talk about the all or nothing mindset. What is an all or nothing mindset? You've heard it, you've probably used it before. I'm an all or nothing, blah, 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 fill in the blank. I'm going to talk about what is an all or nothing mindset. How is it holding you back? And how the all or nothing mindset affects the way that you feel, because this is what I really, really want to focus on, especially as we're approaching the end of the year, we're approaching Christmas. And an all or nothing mindset is really in abundance right now amongst many women that I speak to, not my clients, I hasten to add, because they have my expertise, my coaching, my support, and my reassurance. But I hear it a lot. I see it a lot on social media. I hear it from friends. I hear it in the environment I'm in, that, oh, it's going to be Christmas. I may as well not, again, fill in the blanks. And I'm going to go into all of these one by one and just expand on each of those things, because those of you who've been listening to me for some time and you know me, whether that be through coaching, whether it's through my podcast or any other ways of knowing me, thank you for supporting me, by the way. You will know that one of my biggest drivers and one of my biggest ethos and beliefs in my coaching is helping women feel good. And it looks different for different people, for different women. But ultimately, you feeling good is my priority. And everything I do within my coaching always has my clients' best interests at heart. And I don't do anything that jeopardizes the way that they feel, because how you feel, both internally and externally, is really important. We want to marry them up ideally, but sometimes we have to really focus on how we feel outside of and look at the bigger picture. And I'm going to be going into this today. So what is an all or nothing mindset? An all or nothing mindset is when you strive to do everything. You're trying to do everything. So if we liken it to a weight loss journey, you embark on a weight loss journey and you give it 100%, and you're really adherent, you stick to everything, you do all your exercise, you get your steps in, you're sticking to the calories, you're doing everything, and you're really adherent. And then the minute something doesn't quite go to plan, could be really minuscule as well, doesn't have to be anything major, could be really something small. The minute you deviate or you don't stick to the plan, or something goes wrong, or life just gets in the way sometimes, you perceive that you've ruined things, and so you give up. So you let one little thing that really bears no that really won't affect your progress. It's just one small thing, whatever that might be. But you perceive, because you weren't perfect and because you didn't do it all, that you've not been perfect. And so you throw the towel in. And what happens when you throw the towel in is you then go to the extreme of doing nothing, right? And this is the all or nothing mindset. And I use this description. You're driving along the motorway, your light comes on your dashboard, one of your tires, there's something wrong with your tires, the pressure's going down, you pull over and you notice that you've got a flat tire. Now, if you had a flat tire on the side of the motorway, your first thing would be to call for help, whether that's the AA, the RAC, a partner, a friend, whatever you need to do, you call for help. You don't get a knife out and slash your other 3 tires because one tire has got a flat. You wouldn't do that. But when you, in your health and weight loss goal, do one thing that maybe you hadn't planned, or you're human, you just did, you let that one thing, in effect, end up with you slashing 3 more tires, so that you really fail. And this is the all or nothing mindset. And the approach prior to coaching, I would say 100% of my clients have prior to coaching, is an all or nothing mindset. And it's why they never had long-term sustainable results. And you may be able to resonate with that, where you get results, you do really well for a period of time, and then you regress, then you give up, then you're back where you started or further away, and then you start the process again. Now, we're heading to the end of the year. Weight loss may not be a realistic goal for you right now. I know with some of my clients, some of them are more in a maintenance phase, just to sort of stay where they are. Some are still pushing for weight loss. It's very individual, but it's about what's right for you. But whatever's right for you, you don't have to approach it with an all or nothing mindset. I think I've covered the all or nothing mindset. Now let's talk about how your all or nothing mindset is holding you back. And I'm going to sort of expand on some of the points that I've said. When you strive to do everything, to do it all, to do things perfectly, it's great when it works. It's a bit like when your technology works, it's the best, right? You couldn't imagine ever going back to a manual method. But when it doesn't work, it's like we want to throw our laptops through the window, or out the window, more probably apt. And if you adopt that mindset, a bit like the slashing the extra 3 tires to your goals, you're going to be setting yourself further away from actually where you want to be. But putting your goals to one side, when you slash those extra 3 tires, throw your laptop out the bedroom window, or move away to the nothing mentality, more importantly than your goals, is how that ultimately makes you feel. Because it might feel so amazing in that split second of, slashing the 3 tires, throwing your laptop out the window. But when the reality hits about what you've just done and how meaningless it actually was and how unhelpful it was, you then start to feel with regret. And when you feel with regret, it then sort of, your knee-jerk reaction is to go back to being all. And then when that doesn't work again, because invariably being perfect is really bloody hard, you then go back to being nothing again. And it's this cycle. And every time you go around this all or nothing cycle, which for some of us can be all of the bloody time, every day, sometimes we're really all or good until we get home from work and it's the evening, and then we go into the nothing mode, and then we start again the following day. Or for some others, it could be just happens here and there, depends what sort of person you are and where you are in your own personal journey and your awareness. But every time you go into nothing mode, you are taking yourself further away from how you want to feel. And I know that from speaking to a lot of women a lot of the time, you just want to feel good about yourself. And this is what I want to keep honing in, is that yes, you might have goals, but it's about feeling good about yourself. And being all or nothing sets you further away from feeling the way that you want to feel, as well as supporting the goals that you have. And this for me is a really big one. And the bigger, like, moving on from, well, it's not moving on, just expanding a bit more on the all or nothing and the bigger picture, is that you may have had, or you may still have, a weight loss goal. And it's opening up your thought process that there is such a bigger picture outside weight loss. And if you only focus on your goal, whatever your goal is, I'm just using weight loss as an example, and you miss out about how you're feeling, you're missing a really crucial point, because how you feel dictates the way that you act, and how you act dictates the results that you get and the way that you feel. So it's very, very interlinked. And I want to focus on why your health matters more than just your goal or your weight loss goal, because it's bringing us back full circle to the all or nothing mindset. Because the all or nothing mindset is getting in the way of you feeling good. When you don't feel good, or you feel remorse or regretful, is taking you further away from the goal that you have, and then you don't feel great. And then when you don't feel great, all it does is highlight that you need to work harder for the goal that you have, and then you still can't live up to that perfectionist mindset you have, because you're human and because it's really difficult and it's really hard to do for a long period of time. Some of us, a long period of time can be a day, a few days, longer, and then it keeps going round and round, and then it brings us back full circle to supporting the way that you feel. So I'm now blending this podcast episode into another of my thoughts about how can I help you feel good in the lead up to Christmas. And the way that I can help you feel good in the lead up to Christmas is for you to really think about whether you have had, whether A, you can resonate with anything I've talked about in this podcast so far about the approach to your goal, about the approach to your weight loss, whether you are a bit of a perfectionist, and you may see this in other areas of your life, not just your health and weight loss goal. If you have this perfectionist mindset, is raising your awareness to it and accepting that actually it's not really helping you. It's not helping you feel good. It's not helping you achieve your goals. It's actually doing the opposite. So I want to really highlight and give you some useful tips on how you can support the way that you feel in the lead up to Christmas and moving away from this all or nothing mindset, and keep showing up for yourself regardless of how you feel or what mood you're in, that you keep doing things because they support the way that you feel. And ultimately, how you feel is the most important thing, and the knock-on effects that it has to the rest of your actions when you feel low or when you feel good. And we want to make sure that you're feeling good. So what can you do for the rest of the year in the lead up to Christmas so that you get to Christmas feeling good? Number one, embrace imperfect action. Imperfect action means that you accept that you're not going to be perfect, that your actions are imperfect. I also call it imperfectly consistent. That may mean more to you, where you are consistent, but you're never 100% consistent. You're around 80, 90% consistent. This is being imperfectly consistent. And being at 80 to 90%, getting things right, is better than sometimes being 100% and other times being at 0%. You'll make more progress being at 80%, being imperfectly consistent. And what imperfect action means is doing the best you can in the situation that you're in. So sometimes the situation where, you might be in a restaurant, you might be on a social occasion with a group of friends, you might be out, you may not have the food that you particularly want to support your goal, or perhaps you get persuaded to drink an extra glass of Prosecco or whatever it is that you're drinking, and you sort of think, oh no, I've ruined everything. And then think, well, I may as well drink the rest of the bottle or whatever it is that you've done. This is where you adopt imperfect action. Okay, you had an extra drink, fine. Enjoy it and move on, and just accept that you weren't perfect, that sometimes things don't always go the way that you want it to. Things aren't always perfect, but it's okay. You just have to continue. And this is what imperfect action is, being imperfectly consistent. Don't let one small thing, no matter what it is, you ate an extra biscuit, whatever it is, think about something that you may have done recently, and you let that one thing upset everything that ended up you hitting that fuck it button, and then you wrote off the rest of the day, perhaps 2 days, perhaps the whole week, rest of the week, with a start again Monday attitude. This is where we need to start bringing our awareness and getting curious as to why we're letting one small thing ruin our progress and ruin the way that we feel, because we don't feel good from it. And I say I've done these things in the past, right? I still don't get things right, but I try not to let one small thing ruin the rest of my day. You just have to draw a line, move on, but also question and think about what happened, why it happened, and maybe what you'll do differently next time, so that we learn from our mistakes and we learn about why we do certain things. Maybe there's nothing to learn. That's fine. Maybe you just fancied another drink. That's fine. It was conscious decision. Great. Own it. Own the consequences. Feel good about it. Ultimately, I want you to feel good, and I want everything you do for the remainder of the year to feel good. So what do you physically need to do to feel good that will affect you mentally? And this comes back to focusing on your health. You can see everything's intertwined. Now you can get an understanding why my brain's been going round and round today, and how to form this podcast and how to deliver it in a way that you can best understand it. And I could probably do it better, but I'm here and I'm recording it because I'm accepting imperfect action. Rather than not do it at all, then I'd have nothing to put out and nothing to help you with. So we have to look at what we can do. So when it comes to our health, we want to move our bodies. The weather is awful right now, but if you let that weather prevent you from getting outside and getting some fresh air and getting some movement in, staying inside all day is not going to make you feel good. Having a step count of like 2,000, 3,000 in a day is not going to make you feel good. Movement makes you feel good, and walking is great. So if you know that it's raining, if you know that you're working, look at the forecast, get an idea maybe of when the rain might be easing off a bit, or accept that you're going to do a walk in the rain, put a suitable clothing on, put a hat on, and get yourself out there. Worst that can happen is you get wet. You come home, you dry, you get on with your day. You'll feel, it will be worth it, I promise you, and you'll feel so much better for it. Do your exercise, even if it's a little home workout. It might be 5 sit-ups, 5 box press-ups, and 5 body weight squats. That is enough to stimulate your muscles and help you feel good. And you can do that when you get out of bed in the morning in your PJs. You're not jumping around, you're not doing anything too exerting. It will make you feel good. If you normally get to the gym and that's what you want to do, get to the gym. If you can't get to the gym, do a home workout. Do something. Something is always going to be better than nothing. When it comes to your nutrition, what you eat has a direct effect on how you feel. That's not to say some food is good and some food is bad. Food is autonomous. It does not have feelings. It is neither good nor bad. Some food is more nutritious for us and makes us feel more energetic and makes us feel better generally, less sluggish. Some food makes us feel a bit more low mood and sluggish with low energy. So notice which foods do which to you, and have more of the foods that make you feel good and less of the foods that make you feel low mood and sluggish. When it comes to eating those treats and foods that you enjoy that may not be the most nutritious, they need to take up no more than 20% of the total amount that you're eating in a day over a week. Bit of what you fancy, I'm all for it. You just don't want it to be everything that you eat all of the time. So that 80-20 split is a good place to be. 80% of the time, you're eating whole foods, high protein, loads of fruit and veg, obviously some carbohydrates, smaller amount of fats, and some of the time, 20% of the time, you might be having a little bit of what you fancy, and that's fine. And this is a nice, easy way to do things that has you feeling good. You also need to be thinking about how much sleep you're getting. If your social events are hotting up and you've got them more frequently, think about making sure that you're catching up with your sleep, and how, obviously, if you're out, you're not going to be going to bed at your usual bedtime, but trying to set a bedtime for the normal weekday nights when you're not out, and stick to those bedtimes and get your body in a nice rhythm, and that you know you're going to bed, you're getting at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Now, I am a 54-year-old woman, and I know sometimes getting to sleep can be challenging, whether it be to winding down, whether it be to certain menopause symptoms that affect our sleep. But to the best of your ability, getting yourself into a really nice bedtime routine, winding down, not scrolling on your phone in bed, giving yourself that time to de-stress, unwind, perhaps read a book, and then getting to bed in a nice relaxed state, making sure your room is well ventilated and it's in a calm environment. And I tend to sort of draw my curtains, have a window open from around dinner time, so that by the time I get up to bed, it's all calm, it's all nice, and it's all cool. And then I get into bed, read my book, and then, I'm in a nice state to promote good sleep. Sleep is very underrated. And as we get older, we need it. We really, really need it. We're not in our 20s where we can go for late nights and get up early and feel fine. Gets harder as you get older. All of these things are going to support the way that you feel, and none of them involve you being perfect. None of them involve you doing it all or doing it nothing. We want to stay around that 80% of being imperfectly consistent. And you will get to Christmas feeling good. Now, I'm hoping that this podcast episode that I was very unsure about recording has been really helpful. And if I go back to the title that I've called this podcast, Why Your All or Nothing Mindset is Getting in the Way of You Feeling Good, I'm hoping that you found this really helpful. I hope that you've resonated with some points. I hope you've taken even just one nugget away with you that will help you feel good in the lead up to Christmas. And obviously at all times of the year, you can take on board the tips and advice and the things I've spoken about. Remember, operating at 80% imperfectly consistent is 100 times better than being all or nothing. You'll feel good for it and you'll make more progress. Now, I've shown up for you today. I want you to do something for me. It would mean the world to me, and it goes a really long way. And you don't realize how far it goes, but it goes a really long way. Share my podcast with your friends. There are many women who are struggling to feel good, to improve their health, to lose weight. And I want to be able to help them. And I can help them with all the episodes that I've been recording in my podcast. If I'm correct, this podcast is around 72 or number 72 or number 73. There are a wealth of information through my podcast. It's free advice and free tips. And I know that if you're benefiting from it, think how much it could be helping one of your friends who you may not know is struggling, but would really benefit from this podcast. So share me in your WhatsApp groups, share me in on your Facebook, tag that you've listened to one of my episodes on your stories, and tag my social media so people know where to find it, or tag the episode. People can then listen to it directly. If you haven't yet left me a review, please do leave me a review. Obviously 5-star, and of course follow the show, and then you get notified when the new episodes are uploaded. And it would just mean the world to me, because I genuinely want to help as many women as I can feel good. Have a great rest of your day.